Alrighty, kiddos. So in this video, here is the one of your blank note cards. We are talking about the solutions of a parabola. Remember, parabola is the U-shaped graph. Quadratic 16 EOC. So here's the front, and here is the back of this. I'll give you three scenarios of what the graphs could do. Notice I have the graph, keyword is crossing the x-axis. I have the graph bouncing on the x-axis, and also here the graph does not cross or bounce on the x-axis. In red is answering the question on the front, not necessarily the question, but the statement. There's two real solutions, one real solution, and we don't have any solutions. And now we're going to start getting into this thing called imaginary. Now down here in blue, we really haven't spent a lot of time with these two words yet. But we're going to start looking at the difference between rational and irrational. All right, so there's note card. Quadratic 16. All right, guys, here is quadratic 17. This is called the discriminant. Kind of a weird word that you'll never use except when you're talking about quadratics. There's the front. Guys, here is the back side. And notice something should be very familiar to you is there is the quadratic formula. But notice I only have part of the quadratic highlighted. So, to find the discriminant, we're only going to evaluate b squared minus 4ac. And there are three scenarios that will take place. I'll either get a positive answer, I'll either get equaling to 0, or I will get a negative number. And depending on the answer that you get tells you how many and what type of solutions you end up with. All right, guys, so here is a problem that we had outside today. Just kind of going through this, here is the first step. And as you can see, I just moved the 14 over. So if I continue, the next step, so we end up factoring, we get something like that. And then when we solve, we got x equals 7. And notice I had two of the same answers, and I really wanted you to write it twice just to get in the habit, because my square term, I should have two answers. But if I go to the note card itself, see how this is the same answer? What's going to happen is that the graph is going to bounce at that location, because if it bounces, there's one real solution. Well, this is the same answer. So therefore, there is one real solution. It just happens to be the exact same number. Okay, so I wanted to show you graphically what happens when you get the same answer. All right, kiddos, the last part of the note card, if you see a question that says how many and what type of solutions do we have, I'm referring to the following. So if I go back to this note card we have here, this is how we figure out how many and what type of solutions we have. All right, so question at the top says how many and what type of solutions do we have? Here is a quadratic, and what I want to do is to evaluate, so we are going to evaluate the following expression, b squared minus 4ac. We're not going to do the quadratic formula because it doesn't say what are the solutions, it just says how many and what type of solutions do we have. So we're going to use this b squared minus 4ac, and we're going to use the values of a, b, and c. So we're going to plug them in. So b is 4, a is 1, and c is negative 2. And we're going to work this out and see what we get. I see that's a negative and a negative, so I know this is 16 and 8. And our discriminant, let me write this down, is 24. And since this is a positive number, if I go to my note card, since the discriminant is a positive number, the answer to my question, how many? 2. What type? Real. So my answer would be, if I go to the very far, the first part of the question, I would say that there are 2 real solutions. And we are finished. See you in class tomorrow.